results require big ambitions. This is what I thought when I started on the Peril project. But first of all, let me show you how the adventure starts. So in this game, you will follow the story of Peril, who's investigating around the world who murdered her father. And you will be playing hidden object scenes with our leveling system chapter. And in each chapter, you have 5 hidden object scenes plus 1 adventure scene, which corresponds in terms of production with 2 hidden object scenes. This is the adventure scene. So art only, this chapter corresponds to 65 man-days of work. What I thought was ambitious when I started on the project is that we wanted to release 1 chapter every week. We wanted to release the equivalent of 65 man-days of work every week. So we did some calculations, and then we realized that it's going to be very difficult to do it internally for 2 reasons. The first one is that it's very difficult to hire that amount of artists in such a short time frame, but also because the costs are not scalable. So we decided to integrate outsourcing into our production pipeline. We then spent a lot of time choosing the right partner, but also because it's still a project integrating outsourcing into your production, we spent a lot of time preparing, and we remain flexible during the entire production. Also, we consider the outsourcers as part of the team. Choosing the right partner is a little bit like the usual suspects. You have a lot of companies that can do it, but only one can exactly provide what you need. So to evaluate the studios, we created an art test. We sent art guidelines, specifications, also references of what we already produced, and then we evaluated on several criteria. The first criteria is quality. Quality of the test that was delivered, but also the quality consistency with what was already produced. We also evaluated the communication. The communication during the test, but also the communication during the business talks. We also were looking for a company that had similar production processes as ours, because the project was already very complicated, so we needed a company that could understand the way we were working. And the fourth criteria is budget. So after many tests received and many studio evaluated, we finally found our studio. We found 1 studio in Canada, but we also found 1 studio here in Ukraine. So we initially planned to have only 1 outsourcer, but when we started planning and seeing the project as a whole, we realized that it will be easy to manage 2 companies, 2 outsourcing studios that would be working in parallel, delivering 2 chapters every month, instead of having 1 studio that would be delivering 4 chapters every month. So we chose our 2 partners, and we started checking the production. So the same way that you're preparing every ingredient when you're baking, just to check that you have everything, well, we did the same. We prepared everything that we needed to start production. We created a rough schedule, and then, after discussions with the outsourcers, We finalized it and let it open. We also prepared the documents that we would need. Peril is a story-driven game. So we prepared story documents such as story synopsis and character description, then sent it to the outsourcers to help them during the production. We also set up the management tool. We are using Basecamp to exchange art on a daily basis, but also feedback. And we're using Skype and emails for further communication. So we prepared everything, but we saw the project as a whole. Peril is an ongoing project. There is no end date. So from the start, we needed to consider one unique team working on the project. So we set up the deadlines together. We are sending a concept to be produced, and we are sending it 4 weeks prior to production, as requested by the outsourcers. We also share the creativity as much as possible. So from the concept that we're sending, the outsourcer can easily change or modify at convenience if they think it's best for the scene. It can be from perspective to mood, lighting, textures. We also do not provide any object list voluntarily, because we want the outsourcers to have full ownership of every object that you can encounter in the game. We also visit the studios. We want to meet the teams that are working on the project, but more important, we want them to meet us. We want them to put a face on a name. We also work on the planning together. We do regular updates on the planning to compensate for every impediment that you can have in a production. A production will never be perfect. However, working together to compensate for delays will help you minimize the impact. This week, we are releasing chapter 40 of Peril, which means that we're live for 40 weeks. We released in January this year. And however we are released in January, we've been working with outsourcers for more than a year now. If you're considering integrating outsourcing into your production, spend a lot of time choosing the right partner. There is a right fit for you and for your project needs, but just let it happen. Be patient and you will find the studio. But also, integrating outsourcing into your production is a project on its own. Prepare it the same way you're going to prepare another project, and remain flexible the same way you're going to be flexible during an in-house production. And also, consider outsourcers as partners. Treat them the same you're treating your in-house team. Same perks, same communication, same deadlines. We are working with 2 outsourcers for a year now, and we're still working with the same production schedule. They're delivering 2 chapters every month for a year. Thank you.
Questions? Well, Katia, first of all, let me congratulate you on this beautiful project you've just presented. Next, I'm employing, I was listening as if I were talking now, because I'm employing the very same scheme. But I have one problem, so maybe you don't have it, or you can explain it to me. How do you maintain the general style? Because all the artists I work with, they have something very distinctive. And I believe I employ now one guy who worked for your studio, because it's a distinctive style. So every artist has it, but it does have to integrate into a project. And I have an art director who just cannot cope with all the differences that he receives from our outsourcers. What a word. how did you manage that? Again, I understand that you choose the right partner, but it was just one presentation, right? One piece of art or number of pieces of art, but for a year, how can you keep it? Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So initially, when we evaluated the studios, we checked portfolios. This was the first thing. And I very closely work with my current art director, and he's the one managing the entire art style. So what we're doing in the project, and I'm sure that Absolutist, which is the company we're working with in Ukraine, can also give you some more insight on how we keep the style. We are working very closely with them. So we have daily feedbacks with them. We are talking about everything related to the art. So if something is not consistent with what was already produced, we're discussing about it and we're working together to achieve that. So yes, it's difficult to keep the same style for a year, but I truly believe that communication is helping a lot. When I said that we considered the outsourcers as partners, I meant it. They're treated the same, and if there is any issue, we discuss and we found a solution together.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you.